Hi, my name is Michelle Smith, and this is my Module 1 Inclusive School Culture presentation. Here's a little bit about me. My name is Michelle Smith. I'm 6 feet 2 inches tall, which is kind of crazy for most people to visualize. I have two very tall children, Tate and McKinley, married to my husband Tyler. I guess I should say he's also tall. I have a micro mini golden doodle, which is like the definition of irony, since we're also, here I go again, we're all so tall. We have this little tiny little golden doodle. I love Harry Potter. I have Harry Potter tattoos, and my classroom is all decked out in Harry Potter. And I love music and crocheting. And so I love creating music. I love listening to music, just all of the things, supporting the music, classes at school, and I crochet in my spare time. I did a Harry Potter quilt one time. It's really cool. It's called C2C, corner to corner, where you start in one corner and go to the other side. And it was a beast, but it's done. All right. I teach 8th and 9th grade English at a rural school in Richmond, Kansas, which is Central Heights. I've taught for 11 years now. I took a little 5-year sabbatical to stay home with the kiddos. I have 2 class pet rats, George and Lenny, and they've completely transformed my classroom. I just offered like an extra credit essay opportunity for my kids, and had to be about something that they loved or something that brought them joy. And I had several kids write about George and Lenny, and so it's just been amazing what those 2 have done for my class. We are a year in with the rats, and I regret nothing. And if you know who George and Lenny are from literary work, then you get extra credit too. I'm in charge of our reading intervention program at our school, and I have a master's in special education. So this class is like right up my alley. I love to bring joy into teaching whenever and however possible. I think education is kind of, steering away from some of that, and I just want to bring it back as much as I can. So there we go. I teach, since it's rural, it's a K through 12 school. I get to have both my kiddos out there. Here's a little picture of us that my face is kind of hiding right there, starting out the school year a year ago. And so it's just it's the greatest joy being able to be in the same building as my kids, all of their schooling. All right, so now for what this is really all about, discussing the importance of an inclusive classroom. All right, so the first part is a summary of all the different things. So 7 ways to create an inclusive classroom, listed out 7 steps that you could take, as a teacher, as an administrator, that, we can all just kind of work towards. So academic supports, preparing teachers, having inclusive curriculum, integrating student bodies so that people are not just, off to the side, everything is mainstreamed. Adjust ranking calculations, create a respectful student body. That comes with being inclusive for sure, just acceptance. And create a space for discussion. Don't go in it thinking that everybody's going to be on board with this and nobody's going to have any questions and nobody's going to, because sometimes, differences kind of freak people out, and whether that's right or wrong, it's just the way it is. So being able to have a space for discussion and honesty. So I thought that was really great. It were easy to follow steps in that one. The next article, Inclusive Leadership Education, focuses on special education to ensure that they have practices in place in order for them to be the most successful. Leaders need to be humble. They need to accept their own bias that they have, if they have fears or if they have trepidation when it comes to students with disabilities in any capacity. There needs to always be a culture of acceptance, be willing to try new things, be curious, just because I have my master's does not mean I know everything by a long shot. So I'm always curious about learning new things, have a visible commitment to inclusion. And so I just thought those were some really great points from that article. 10 reasons for inclusive schools. This is another one that we really need to pay attention to. Some people might be like, but these are all really good concrete reasons that we should acknowledge and accept in our classroom. So all children have equal access to education. That should be a non-negotiable. All of these should be. So here we go. All children learn alongside their same age peers. That's, least restrictive environment type situations. The focus of education is on the child's abilities, not disabilities. So what can the child do? Not focusing on what they cannot do. Children become accepting and understanding of one another's abilities, talents, personalities, and needs. And this comes from modeling too. Meaningful relationships and friendships develop as students spend quality time with one another. So not keeping kids out of the classroom. Students also develop confidence in their ability to interact with one another and the world around them. Teachers in inclusive schools are highly trained and skilled at delivering appropriate student-centered curriculum through differentiated activities according to ability level. So they're still teaching the same curriculum, but they're going to deliver it in different ways and utilize some of the IEP measures that are laid out, and they're going to find other ways too. In addition to the classroom teacher, students with disabilities are supported by special education teachers, paraprofessionals, specialists, and speech and language therapists, occupational therapists, you name it. They're going to be supported however they need to be supported to receive that great high quality education. Various resources and assistive technologies are available to students in inclusive schools in an effort to reach and teach all learners, all of them, every single one. Inclusive schools value input and participation from the whole community, not just students. Everyone is welcome. So that means like having partnerships with those community members and parents, just like having a good relationship with parents with these students is going to be so important. All right, so what is inclusive education and how can you implement it? Inclusive education is all students, regardless of their ability, learns together in the same environment. So being inclusive, if that is possible for that student, that's what we want. We want them full inclusion. So being inclusive, everybody together, everybody included is a good way to think about it. Just change the suffix a little. So ways to implement it, there are 3 different ways. Full inclusion is special education students are always in the classroom working alongside non-identified peers. So this is like what our school does. We have full inclusion for every single student in our building when it's possible. And so partial inclusion is you have situations where, for reading, they are in my classroom for 40 minutes, but then they have pull-out reading instruction for 20 minutes, if I have a 60-minute hour for reading. And so most of the time, or sometimes they're going to be in with the general education population, but sometimes they will just be, separated and held in the special education room to receive very specific instruction that could not be given in the regular general education classroom. And then mainstreaming, they start in a self-contained classroom, which would be your special education classroom. And then they work their way to being in a general education classroom. So the goal is always full inclusion, but sometimes it's not possible. And it always centers around what is best for the student, making it equitable. So that's where my little #equitable came in. All right, so what are the roles of principals in successful inclusive schools? Well, there's a really nice graphic on that article. They must be an active participant. So they can't be sitting back and saying, okay, you do this, and then like not helping make it happen. They need to be active. They perhaps have the most important role because they have the ability to do the hiring and to do, like observations and implement professional development where needed. They create and protect the environment. They ensure that the laws are being followed because the IEP is a lawful document. They hire great teachers and they retain their great teachers. So very important. The article, The Inclusive School, goes beyond just having special education students in the mainstream classrooms. This is creating the culture of inclusion in the school that will transcend beyond the walls and they'll overflow into the spaces beyond. So not just saying, okay, we're going to be inclusive when we're in class, but when you see them at Walmart, feel free to ignore them. Like that's not what this is about. So being inclusive in all situations. A guide to inclusive classroom culture. So this was an interactive PDF that gave ideas for what to do to ensure that you have an inclusive classroom culture. So being culturally responsive. And you can select from the following options: strategies for action, and there are different subcategories, and then resources. And so I thought that was just a really helpful PDF that somebody could use. Building an inclusive school culture with equity of access to knowledge. This was the video from some secondary um, principals administration. Um, so intervention where it is necessary is vital to building an inclusive school culture. And it starts with the principal. Again, the principal takes a key, really important role in this. All students have the right to a free and appropriate education. And that is a law. That is something that we all need to follow and keep in mind. It certainly doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. In lots of cases, there are it's hard, and it's hard because you're going to involve multiple adults in this situation, and you're going to involve the kids, and so it might get a little messy at first, but like just having the wherewithal to see it through. The value of inclusive education was another article. There's no evidence of being excluded from a general education classroom and opportunities where it overwhelmingly benefits special needs students. So in certain circumstances, of course, we need to do some pull-out stuff with kids, but there's a lot of evidence where it is mutually beneficial for students to be in the classroom of all abilities. So some basic elements from this was there needs to be proper teaching assistants and specialists in place. There needs to be an inclusive curriculum. So lots of times when we buy curriculum nowadays, they give like modification ideas for these kinds of situations. Parental involvement is so key. Not all parents want to be involved, tragically, but when they do, it's a beautiful thing. And then sometimes it makes a substantial investment. Like if you need to get new curriculum, that curriculum is expensive. And so, so there's going to be an investment. Maybe you need some different furniture in the classroom. So money, which is not something everybody always wants to talk about. All right. So how do our resources that we just went over help define inclusive culture? Well, any student who wants to participate in a given class or extracurricular is welcome. That is having a inclusive school culture. Anybody's welcome, like to put it short and sweet. A disability, learning difference, or a person's race, gender, sexual orientation, or any kind of difference should never prevent a student from participating. Never. Education. The resources help define education as a way of teaching all students where all students, regardless of their abilities, can learn and grow. So the education would be just like instruction, but it doesn't have to be just curriculum. Like we can educate kids on being inclusive and things like that too. And leadership. It's instrumental in ensuring that an inclusive school culture is implemented. So leadership is an extremely important part of this puzzle. Leadership comes in every form, superintendent, all the way down to other students. Students can be leaders as well, of course. But the principals play an extremely vital role in this. All right, so an inclusive culture. If an inclusive culture, so over on the left side is where the question is, and how I answered it is on the right. So if an inclusive culture starts from the premise that everyone in the school, students, educators, administrators, support staff, and parents should feel that they belong, they realize their potential and contribute to the life of the school, what is the school leader's role in maintaining this culture? So if there's already kind of a positive culture, and what do you do if it doesn't exist? Okay, so loaded question. According to Inclusive Schools, the principals have an extremely important role, and it's kind of like what I just got done talking about, and I'm going to reference this graphic again because it was really important and had some really great points on it. It details how the principal is so important in some roles that it can do. So, make sure that you do these things, and then it just kind of spawns out from there. If one doesn't already exist, then it's the principal's job to get it headed in the right direction. It's not going to be easy. Not everybody's going to just jump on board. There's going to be a few that are going to be super hesitant. Ask me how I know with my reading intervention launch that I have like social studies teachers leading and PE teachers and science teachers. And oh my goodness, it's kind of been a process. And so I feel like this is really preparing me for becoming an administrator though, because if one doesn't already exist, then it's the principal's job to get it going. We have to be willing to take the initiative and get rolling. Okay, advocate. I love this word. An advocate is a person who empowers their students. They give advice, encouragement, or a listening ear. It's an individual that lets a student know that they can have someone who believes in them and who is there for them. What support can a school leader provide to encourage advocacy? So notice that advocate does not equal teacher every single time. And so here, okay, that's the question. Here's my answer. Schools need to provide specialists and teaching assistants according to Open Society Foundations. So that was my resource answer. Also, school leaders can provide the students with quality professionals who meet this criteria and can be that advocate themselves. They can encourage families. Like, families are sometimes the biggest advocate. Our kids at school don't always act the same way at school as when they go home. They might be a lot more open and honest about things at home. So the families need to advocate for their kiddo. And our schools and our school leaders need to equip our students themselves, if they are able, if they have that communication ability, to advocate for themselves. This is a life skill. This is not just a school skill. This is something they need forever. What plans and strategies can be implemented to ensure the equitable treatment of students and or staff in an inclusive culture? Again, here comes those 7 steps that I referenced earlier. So academic supports, we need to prepare teachers, a good, strong curriculum, integrate our student bodies, adjust the ranking calculations, create a respectful student body, and create a space for discussion. That just needs to be the norm. And what steps can a school leader take to change negative assumptions that affect teaching and learning? And that's hard. Time needs to be on. I don't think I necessarily put it over here, but it's probably going to take some time. Through early intervention and modeling, what it looks like a school leader I'm sorry, can I start over? Through early intervention and modeling what it looks like, a school leader can change negative assumptions that surround teaching and learning in an inclusive culture. They need to have quality hires. They need common understanding and a mission towards equity and fairness. They need to form important and authentic relationships. So don't just form a relationship to form a relationship. It needs to be authentic, and it needs to be helpful, and it needs to be, with a good heart behind it. There needs to be a good communication and vision. And how about some humility and honesty? We need to definitely admit to where we are and where we want to go and cast a really strong vision. It's kind of like Coach Tang with a K-State student body right now. I don't know if you follow sports or anything. I'm a K-State alumni, graduated from K-State, huge Cats fan. And the things that he has done with our student body, it's amazing. And so that just shows, you need to be strong and authentic and honest and be humble, and all the things Coach Tang is doing. That's what we need to do. I like Coach Tang. All right. So here's my correlation. I have a better understanding of promoting the current and future success and well-being of each student and adult by being able to apply the knowledge, skills, and commitments necessary to develop and maintain a supportive, equitable, culturally responsive, and inclusive school culture, because I was able to dive into multiple resources, and it solidified and enhanced my own understanding. Again, I already have my master's in special education, and so I already feel like I have a really great understanding of these concepts, but this just solidified what I felt, and really enhanced, and kind of with some relevant, current resources. It's good to see those kinds of things too. All right. Relevancy. My current learning. This will enhance who I am as an educator and building leader, for sure. If becoming more inclusive is not on your priority, I feel like education might not be for you, because we have got to move to that. My mindset, it solidified who I am and what I value. Since I have my master's degree in special education, I obviously thought that was of an important value. I taught 1 year of special education, and it was great. And then they needed an English teacher, and they had a special education teacher. So that's why I moved back to English. I loved every second of teaching special education. It was one of my favorite years. I feel like I have a very inclusive classroom, and I ensure that opportunities are available for all of my students. Current admin is working to build up these opportunities as well. Of course, we're not there yet, but we have a good vision, and we're working on that. And community is coming around to an inclusive classroom. We still, in our rural setting, we don't necessarily have the capabilities to properly educate someone that is not as high functioning as others. And so we have to send those kiddos to Paola because we're part of a co-op, which is, I'm just so thankful that we have those opportunities and families in our district has those opportunities. And my reflection, this assignment has positively affected me and who I will be as a future school leader in the following ways. So I feel strongly about promoting current and future successes and well-beings of each student and adult and its importance. I also feel strongly about applying the new knowledge, skills, and commitments necessary to develop and maintain a supportive, equitable, culturally responsive, and inclusive school culture. Difficulties? Well, you betcha. There's always going to be difficulties. But with the proper steps and supports outlined in this video, as well as the passionate and honest heart for inclusivity that I feel like, I kind of carry with me. It's kind of the banner that I teach under. I'm confident that I can work towards where we need to be and keep it moving in that direction just because I am very passionate about this. I feel very strongly and I do feel a weight for being an advocate for these students. So anyway, there's my presentation. Here are my references. Hope y'all have a great day.